Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Star Wars, the original trilogy. It starts with Episode 4, A New Hope, which of course used to be just Star Wars. In any case, there's a little ship being chased by a big ship, and they get boarded by the stormtroopers, laser fight, pew pew, and then it's Darth Vader, the biggest badass in all of movie history. There's a couple of droids on the ship. The trash can on wheels is R2-D2, and his golden English butler friend is C-3PO. This mysterious girl gives a floppy disk to R2-D2, and the two droids escape on an escape pod. So this mysterious girl is Princess Leia, who of course is famous for the hair Cinnabons. Darth Vader's like, hey, where's the floppy disk you stole? But she doesn't tell, so she's under arrest. Of course, it's with the droids. They crash landed on this desert planet, and long story short, they're captured by these little junk dealers. They have a garage sale for this dirt farmer who has a nephew named Luke Skywalker. Luke's a good kid, but he doesn't like dirt farming. He wants to join the rebellion and become a fighter pilot, but his uncle's like, hey, no, I need you here to help me farm the dirt. So, he's stuck on this dumb rock. But that night, he accidentally finds the secret message that Princess Leia recorded, says, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And he's like, damn, who's this girl? She's hot. But R2-D2 shuts it off, and the next day he runs away. Luke finds him, but they're ambushed by sand people. Oh, luckily they're scared off by this mysterious old man. Who's this guy? He's the crazy old hermit, Old Ben Kenobi. Luke's like, hey, this is a crazy coincidence, but this droid was looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Do you know him? It's like, of course I know him. He's me. So Obi-Wan used to be a Jedi Knight, the defenders of the Old Republic before the Empire took over, and the Jedi could use the Force, a mysterious energy field that flows through everything, so basically they were space wizards, and they had laser swords called lightsabers that were super sweet, and Luke's father was actually a Jedi too. He and Obi-Wan were good friends before his father was betrayed and murdered by Darth Vader, who went over to the dark side of the Force. Anyway, he plays the message, and Princess Leia's like, yo, Obi-Wan, I need your help. We stole the plans to a secret battle station called the Death Star, and that's what's on the floppy disk in this droid. You need to come to Alderaan and give it to my father in the rebellion, and we'll help win. Obi-Wan's like, hey, I'm too old to do this alone. Luke, you want to come on an adventure? And Luke's like, hey, I'd love to, but I've got dirt to farm and stuff, Unfortunately, the Empire was tracking down the droids, and they killed Luke's aunt and uncle and burned his farm, so he's like, hey, I guess I'm coming on an adventure, let's do it. So they go down to the Mos Eisley spaceport to get a ride. The Empire's still looking for the droids, but Obi-Wan's like, these are not the droids you're looking for, because he could Jedi mind trick them. Then they go into the cantina, where the band is playing a bassoon, an oboe, and an electric bagpipe, and this is a rough part of town, where you're likely to get into fights with random aliens for no good reason. Anyway, they meet Han Solo, coolest pilot in the galaxy. They're gonna pay him to take them to Alderaan, but Han gets accosted by this bounty hunter because he's a smuggler and he owes a bunch of money to Jabba the Hutt. Luckily, Han shoots first and he goes to see Jabba. He's like, yo, I got one last job. I'll get the money. I'll come back and pay you off. I promise. So they fly off on Han's ship, the Millennium Falcon. They go into hyperspace where it goes, pshum, yeah, super fast. On the journey, Luke's learning the basics of how to use the Force. Obi-Wan's like, yeah, you gotta cover up your eyes and just feel it flow through you. Yeah, see, it's super easy. But meanwhile, at the Death Star, the Empire High Command is talking about how awesome they are. This one guy taunts Darth Vader, which is a bad idea because he can choke you out with his mind. Governor Tarkin is in command here, and Princess Leia won't tell them where the rebel base is, so he's like, fine, we'll just test out the Death Star on your home planet of Alderaan. No! Ignition! Pew pew pew! Kaboom! Explodes the whole planet! Whoa! So when our guys arrive at Alderaan, there's nothing left, but they see this small moon. That's no moon, it's the Death Star. They get tractor beamed in. They manage to hide themselves in Han's smuggling compartments, and they steal some stormtrooper outfits. Obi-Wan's like, hey, you guys stay here, I'm gonna go disable the tractor beam and we'll fly off. But R2-D2 finds out that Princess Leia is being held prisoner here. Luke wants to rescue her because she's hot, and Han agrees to help because she's rich and she'll give a big reward. So they sneak down, do some laser shooting, find Princess Leia. Hey, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you. They go into the garbage chute where it starts compressing the walls on them. Luckily, R2 hacks the system and shuts it off just in time. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan shuts down the tractor beam, but he's found by Darth Vader, his old apprentice. We meet again at last, and they have a lightsaber battle. The gang is trying to get to the ship, so Obi-Wan decides he'll cause a distraction by letting Darth Vader kill him, but he disappears into nothingness. They blast their way out of there, but the TIE fighters are chasing them, so they have this swivel chair space battle. They fly to the rebel headquarters planet, but Darth Vader put a tracking device on their ship, so the Death Star's close behind. But the rebellion analyzes the Death Star plans that R2 had, and they find there's a weakness. If you shoot a little missile down the shaft, right to the bottom, it'll explode the entire thing. Han is not sticking around to help. He's taking his reward and getting out of there. That Han Solo only cares about himself. But the rest of the rebellion flies out on their X-Wings, and is all like, Red Leader checking in, yeah, this is Red 5 standing by. So they have a big space battle. It's exactly like Star Fox 64. Peppy's like, Fox, get this guy off my tail. A dual barrel roll. Anyway, the first bombers take their shot, but they miss because they suck, and Darth Vader flies in and shoots them. And at the end, it's Luke who has the last torpedoes. He's gonna use the targeting computer, but he hears Obi-Wan's ghost voice being like, Luke, Use the Force. So he turns off his computer, he's just gonna eyeball it. The command is like, is this guy crazy? Oh my god. And Darth Vader's coming up behind him. Just before he shoots him though, bam, he gets shot by Han Solo. He came back to save the day. Yahoo! So Luke takes the shot, makes it in because he's the man. Boom, explosion, the whole Death Star, yeah! So the day is saved, they have this big silly medal ceremony, and that's how the first Star Wars comes to an end. Next, it's The Empire Strikes Back. The rebellion's hanging out on Ice Planet. Luke gets ambushed by the abominable snowman from the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie, but he uses the Force to pull his lightsaber to him and cut himself free, but he passes out in the snow and has a hallucination of Obi-Wan Kenobi being like, hey, you gotta go to Swamp Planet and learn from Yoda. But luckily Han Solo finds him, and they spend the night inside their dead horse thing to stay warm, and Luke's A-okay. Now Han had joined the rebellion, but he wants to bail now because he's still got a big price on his head from Jabba the Hutt. He and Leia, by the way, kinda like each other, even though they have a very antagonistic relationship, and to prove that she doesn't like him, she kisses Luke, whoa. But anyway, it's the Empire. Darth Vader's been tracking down the rebellion's new headquarters. They find that it's on Ice Planet, so they send down the walkie robot things, and the rebellion ships come in, and boom, they use their cables to tie up the legs, knock them over, boom, exploded. Darth Vader's mad at the failure, so he uses his mind to choke out the old commander and promote the guy next to him. They're chasing the Millennium Falcon, so Han flies through the asteroid field. C-3PO's like, oh, the odds of survival are very low, but Han's like, you never tell me the odds. They hide in a big hole on one asteroid where he and Leia make out, but turns out there's a giant worm thing in there, so they have to fly off. Luke decides to trust his hallucination and go to Swamp World, where he crash lands and meets Yoda. Yoda's the guy who talks backwards. He's all like, yes, train you as a Jedi, I will. So they have a silly Force training montage, and Luke's trying to raise his ship out of the swamp, but he can't do it. He gives up, and Yoda's like, hey, I could do it easily. See, size doesn't matter. Darth Vader is still chasing the Millennium Falcon, but they hide on his own ship, so they lose track of him, and they fly off sneakily later, but Darth Vader hires famed bounty hunter Boba Fett to track them down, and Boba Fett's real smart, so he follows them hot on their tail. The gang flies down to Cloud World, where they meet Lando Calrissian. He's Han's old friend, and he wears a cape, so he's super cool, but unfortunately he leads them into a trap. He's like, I'm sorry, I had no choice. They're gonna give Han to Boba Fett so he can collect the bounty from Jabba the Hutt, but first they're gonna carbon freeze him, so Leia's like, I love you, and Han's like, I know. And boom, they freeze him, put him in carbon night, and there he is. He's in a block now. Luke has a vision of his friends in trouble, and Yoda's like, no, you gotta stay and complete the training, but Luke's like, no, I'm out of here. So he busts down, he finds Darth Vader, and it's lightsaber battle time! Phew, phew, phew! Unfortunately, Luke is a total noob, and he gets his hand cut off. Darth Vader's like, hey, Luke, you should join me on the dark side. Luke's like, no way, you killed my father. Darth Vader's like, no, Luke, I am your father. What? Mind explosion! Anyway, Luke lets go. He falls down onto the weather vane thing. Elsewhere, Lando is still a good guy, so he helps them escape. They're too late to save Han from Boba Fett, but they do go and pick up Luke. They bust on out of there. Luke gets a cool robot hand, and that's how Empire comes to an end. The last movie is Return of the Jedi. It starts with Jabba the Hutt. He's got Han Solo frozen in carbonite as his wall decoration, and a new bounty hunter comes in. He's captured Chewbacca, too. I just realized I haven't mentioned Chewbacca yet. Well, you know, he's Han's best friend and first mate. He's a Wookiee, you know him. He goes, rah! But anyway, that night, the new bounty hunter sneaks in and frees Han. Who is it? Oh, it's Leia, in disguise! Unfortunately, they're caught immediately, and they put Leia in the Slave Leia bikini, which caused thousands of kids to hit puberty. But Luke Skywalker comes in to save the day. He's a fully trained Jedi now, and he comes up to Jabba. He's like, release my friends or be destroyed. Jabba drops him through the trapdoor. He has to fight the Rancor monster. Long story short, he wins. So they're gonna make him walk the plank into the Sarlacc pit, but Luke's like, I don't think so. He busts out his new green lightsaber and kicks some butt. Boba Fett flies in on his jetpack to show off what he can do. Unfortunately, he's a huge disappointment because he gets knocked down into the Sarlacc pit before he does anything. And so Leia strangles Jabba the Hutt, and they bust on out of there. Luke goes back to Yoda, who's super old now, so he dies, bleh, and he talks to the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's like, yeah, sorry I lied about Darth Vader being your father. It just seemed easier that way. Also, you should know that Leia is your twin sister. Luke's like, what? But we made out that time, and I used tongue. But anyway, the Empire's building another Death Star, and we get to meet the Emperor himself, this mysterious guy. The rebels get the new Death Star plans, and turns out this one has the exact same weakness as the first. The weapons aren't operational yet, but there is a shield blocking it from the nearby planet, so our gang sneaks down to disable the shields on Forest World, but they're spotted out, so this is why they have the speeder chase through the trees, and long story short, they win, but they crash, and they're caught by these little teddy bear people, the Ewoks. Now, the Ewoks are pretty cute, but apparently they want to feast on human flesh. Luckily, they think C-3PO is some sort of god, god, so they let him go, and it was all a hilarious misunderstanding. Luke's like, hey Leia, by the way, you're my twin sister, and she's like, oh god, I used tongue. And he's like, look, I'm gonna find our dad Darth Vader and try to bring him back to the light side. So Luke turns himself in. He's like, hey Pops, come on back to the light side. But Darth Vader's like, do you see my outfit? I'm pretty committed to the dark side thing. So he brings him to see the Emperor, who's like, hey, by the way, your friends are walking into a trap, and when the rebel fleet gets there, the weapons are definitely operational. And this guy's like, it's a trap. Now the Emperor's a creepy guy. He's all like, good, I feel your anger. He wants Luke to give in to his anger and join the dark side, so Luke does. He goes to strike him down, but it's blocked by Darth Vader, and these two have an epic lightsaber battle. And long story short, Luke wins this time and cuts off Darth Vader's hand. And the Emperor's like, good, strike him down and take his place by my side. Because apparently if you kill one bad guy out of anger, like, you're immediately full dark side. So Luke's like, no, I'm not gonna do it, I'm gonna stay light side. And Emperor's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna lightning you. Lightning. So Luke's being lightning to death, and he's like, Father, please. And Darth Vader, something in him snaps, and he's like, oh, you know what? I never liked you anyway. Boom, throws the Emperor off the thing. And he explodes, so he's definitely not Snoke, okay? So Darth Vader has redeemed himself, and Luke takes off his mask to see his dad, and he's kind of an ugly dude, and he's like, what the F, son? I need that to breathe. Blah. Down on the planet, the Ewoks join the fight, and even though they're hilariously outgunned, they somehow win and blow up the shield generator. So with the shields down, Lando Calrissian flies the Millennium Falcon down into the core and blows it up. It's exactly like the end of Star Fox 64. But anyway, new Death Star explodes, the day is saved, they have a big tree party with Ewoks, and Luke sees the Force ghosts of his friends, and they're now joined by Darth Vader, a young Anakin Skywalker. You'll be seeing more of him in the prequels. And that's how the original trilogy comes to an end.